Hello, this is John Kogan. I'm the CEO of Performative, the online community and resource for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled Unlocking Strategic Value in the Automation of Financial and Operational Processes. Prophix develops innovative performance management solutions for the automation of financial and operational processes. Finance leaders around the world use Prophix to empower their organizations and gain valuable insight into business performance. And today we will discover how Prophix streamlines budgeting, forecasting, reporting, analysis, and more, methods for conducting financial processes without the need for complex coding, and why business leaders use Prophix to evaluate their company's finances on an ongoing basis. A few items before we get started. First off, of course, thank you to Prophix for coming in today and giving us this great information and insight into their platform. We're greatly looking forward to that. A couple notes. First, welcome to Performative for those who are new to Performative, and this might be your first event with us. Performative is the largest and fastest growing online community and resource for corporate finance, treasury, accounting, and related professionals. It's all completely noise-free information exchange online and in events like this. So welcome today, and thanks for joining us here at Performative. A few notes about today's event. Number one, links to today's presentation and the recording of today's webinar will be sent out to all attendees within 24 hours of the event. The presentation is actually already posted on performative.com/resources, although what isn't posted is the demo that we're going to be seeing today. So that will be captured live and captured in the recording of the webinar. But the slides that are the preamble and postscripts to the demo will be available, and actually already are available at performative.com/resources. Next, I would like to encourage you to ask questions. We will have a Q&A period after we go through the brief presentation and then the demo. So please have your questions ready. Fire them our way at any time. If you take a quick look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see a little section there entitled Questions. So please hit us with your questions. Another quick reminder, there is no CPE for this webinar. This is a product demo webinar, and we're here to learn about how Prophix helps their clients. Lastly, you will be asked to take a short survey today regarding the webinar. We always like to know what we can be doing better and more effectively. In order to help us, that short survey is a wonderful resource. Also, on that survey, which takes all of 60 seconds, if you would like to have us introduce you to today's speaker or to Prophix more broadly, we're happy to do that. It's a click of a mouse away. So in that quick 1-minute survey after the event, you can just say, with a click of a mouse, ask us to make that connection, and we're happy to do that. So please stick with us for that extra minute. Now, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speaker today. Her name is Nadia Kotecha, who is a product marketing manager with Prophix Software. Nadia has been with Prophix for nearly 6 years and began her time as a management consultant implementing financial analytics systems throughout North America for Prophix. She then served as a sales engineer, where she was deeply involved with delivering Prophix's value proposition to clients. Nadia holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and an MBA. Nadia, thanks so much for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you very much, John. So welcome, everyone, to this Prophix product demonstration. And thank you again for your interest in learning more about the Prophix solution today. For the agenda today, really during today's presentation, I'll be giving you an overview of the Prophix solution. And you'll learn really how Prophix delivers all those essential capabilities that John was speaking of: reporting, analysis, dashboarding, strategic planning, budgeting, forecasting. Of course, we're going to take a high-level view at a lot of those areas, give you an introduction about what Prophix has to offer. It's a single solution, it's easy to use, and hopefully you'll see that throughout the demo. I promise I just have one additional slide which really talks a little bit about who we are, Prophix as a company, and why we're creating a product like what we've created over the last 25 years to make life easier in regards to all your corporate performance and all your budgeting and planning. So really, I'm just going to have one additional slide here and talk a little bit about who we are and really why listen to us today. So overall, Prophix has been providing companies for more than 20-plus years, 25 years now, with critical visibility into factors impacting businesses. It's really allowing you to make decisions, take actions that drive better business outcomes. And today, over 2,000 organizations use Prophix to automate many financial processes, budgeting, planning, really everything that you see on that right-hand side wheel. All of those areas have places where you can automate, take the manual, repetitive efforts out of your daily budget or your reporting aspects and create automation and performance management. It really brings together the necessary business practices required to manage your organization with the power and ease of using Prophix. Furthermore, it also empowers. The application empowers now the broadest number of employees. You can start to bring accountability to other people in the organizations, executives, managers, frontline employees. Everyone can start to contribute to the plans and also have better access to tailored information within a very secure environment. And with Prophix, corporate effectiveness becomes an inherent part of the company culture. So more time spent on analyzing results rather than compiling them. And if you live in a world of spreadsheets right now, compiling data might be one of the banes of your existence. You're really taking so much time just compiling data and aggregating the data that it really leaves very little time to do true analysis, which is really why we want to see the data. We want to really be able to help us budget for in the future or see where our business is going. So Prophix can definitely alleviate that as well. And delivering best value, Prophix combines high-end functionality, as I said before, in a single product, so it's not a la carte. You really get all the aspects that you're going to see here today in one single solution. And it's very much easily used by business users, by finance users. We wanted the everyday user to be the people who need to create those reports on the fly, to enter in data. So it's not going to be managed or used by IT. It's really going to be the everyday user, the advanced user, the person who's entering in data. It's by the business user, the finance user. And we do this through wizards and drop-downs, and you'll see that through the demo as well. So other than that, I really just want to dive into a product demonstration. What I'm going to do today is really give you an overview of the Prophix solution, take a closer look at the individual capabilities, and see for yourself how this solution really provides those planning capabilities, those reporting capabilities that you're looking for. Now, as well as that, we're also going to, in this demo, take a look at one particular example. Of course, I can't run through every type of industry and the type of examples that you may be facing, but hopefully in today's demo, I'll at least show you that our solution does fit a diverse set of business needs across a variety of verticals and industries, because out of our 2,000 customers, and I'll speak to it a little bit later, we do have customers in all different industries who are benefiting from Prophix. So what I'm now in is live directly in the software, and this is really starting off within our workflow manager. So anytime that you're looking to automate a process or create a streamlining effect in any type of business area, Prophix workflow really helps to do that, especially when it comes to budgeting. It really creates a multi-user forum that provides a controlled environment to contribute, review, approve, and reject budget passes. So what you see here on the screen is really a flow chart that would actually, in fact, represent your budget process. This is simply a sample going from step 1 to the last step of a sample budget process. But the fact is that each activity in the process can have multiple owners, multiple approvers. They can be assigned within here. And then based on that, each of those individuals can have due dates for each of the tasks that are assigned to them. And then based on that, automated email notifications are sent out for event status updates and due date reminders. So while workflow really allows you to streamline, it's still very easy to set up and to allow other people to collaborate in a process like your budget. It simplifies collaboration by tracking information as it flows through your organization, and then therefore makes it easy for administrators to monitor and report on the status of a budget. Now the image that you see here on the left actually identifies a particular activity and the status of it. So reviewing historical data, well, we see that that particular activity has been completed. If I toggle to the operating expense departmental budgets, I can see it's actually a 6-person effort. 4 people are currently working on it. 1 person has submitted it, but it's still awaiting approval. And there's finally someone that's been submitted and approved. And the details of who these 6 people are, their due dates, all those details are found up in the Project Details tab. The right-hand side image is a pie chart, which is really providing the overall status of the entire budget process as a whole. So you can see, have we really just kicked off the budget process? Is it well underway? We have that availability there. And before I move on, I just want to mention that multiple workflow projects can be created. So I'm using a budget workflow as my example today, but you might be thinking, well, I want to streamline my month-end close. Maybe there's a mandate that soon I have to cut 3 whole days off of my month-end. How am I going to do that? Well, there's several manual processes that can be automated throughout Prophix, such as report distribution, consolidation of data, loading in of data from your external systems, and being able to do that all and remove the manual effort. So we actually have several of our clients use workflow on several different ways for budgeting, for month-end close, and even for consolidation purposes, from doing currency conversion or importing data from several disparate sources. So you can actually have several workflow projects all simultaneously running. So what I'm going to actually use this workflow for today is a storyboard, because I think it's going to allow us to touch and highlight some key areas and capabilities within the software. And we're going to start with the ease of data analysis, which is really reviewing historical data. Then I'm going to go into a little bit more about budgeting from an administrative perspective, a little bit about the templates that can be created, and also we'll log in as an end user to show you if you're wanting this to be more of an effort, you have quite a few people involved, or even just a few, how is Prophix from their perspective? How easy is it for me as an end user to contribute to budget data? And then we'll take a look at some reporting capabilities, some budget reports, some P&Ls and balance sheets, all different styles, but just really to show you the breadth of functionality regarding the report creation, and then how we can actually share that information out with the greater audience. So first thing, reviewing historical data, well, we have an area called Smart Monitor. Prophix dashboards and Smart Monitor really help organizations do several things. First of all, it provides at-a-glance summaries of critical information that an organization can manage, or maybe you can use these to set strategic benchmarks while planning. Now, via Smart Monitor, this is our scorecarding, dashboarding, and exception reporting tool in Prophix. And a user can analyze data in here, view trends based on period-to-period changes, identify exceptions, because what's happening here is this is going to harness your defined key performance indicators, whether they be financial related, operational related, personnel related. I'm showing some sales related KPIs right here. And it's going to allow you to see easily those particular outliers. I mean, we're dealing with millions of pieces of data. Why not have a tool that will allow to right away to highlight and almost let us know right away, these are the particular pieces of data you need to focus on. So here I have an example of a particular dashboard, and I have the opportunity to even drill down on the information. So in this particular summary, I've drilled down on more, I'm going to drill down on more of a summary report. So this one now is bringing me into more details related to my sales performance. And as I said, once again, just an example, you can have KPIs, of course, on any type of measurement. I'm just doing it more on sales-related information and the performance of my sales reps. So we're now looking at sales by particular sales reps, by product for a particular month. And from here I can see, with my KPIs, I can quickly identify those outliers. When there's an X, it basically means that there's a weakness. We did not hit our target when it came to Ian and the sales for that particular month, as well as Martin. And there's strengths, which are indicated by a check mark. So now, basically, we exceeded more than what we expected, which is great in this case. Now, we have further information, though, and further details pertaining as to why something has occurred. We don't have to stop right here. It's very much interactive, because directly from within here, I can actually go ahead and click on a couple of these icons. So, for example, if I want to know why is the detail, why is there a weakness, I can click on my comments icon, and it actually opens up a particular window that tells me a little bit more about why I have this issue. So there's actually, first thing, system-generated comments that are really going to identify what has occurred here. We were expecting at least sales of $37,000 for this particular month for this sales rep, and we just achieved over $22,000. Obviously, we came short of that. So there's a first indication, at least we know what our goal was and how we came up short. If we have further information to contribute, I can do so. I click on Add. It will timestamp and name stamp who I am. And now this is more of a comment that I'm going to choose to enter. I can even enter in an additional attachment, a PDF or a Word document to further justify. And the great thing about this here is that this particular comment, all these comments are permanently tagged to the data value in question. So whether or not you go into a different report and you come across the same number, these comments will be available throughout. just close out of here. We also have another opportunity maybe to question the owner of these particular KPIs, which in this case is the sales director, Alfred. Maybe he knows more about why Ian or Martin didn't hit their goals. So let's go ahead and rather than leaving the Prophix environment and sending a separate email, let's have Prophix work its automation for us. We can go ahead and click on the explain button and then immediately send a notification out to Alfred in an email asking why we didn't hit our targets. So I just clicked on those buttons and immediately an email request was sent via that workflow. And it will send a notification to the proper user inquiring as to the reason why has the exception occurred. I can even go one step further. I have another icon here which allows me to see a data view. A data view really allows me to go into an ad hoc view. So this ad hoc view actually allows me to freely slice and dice the data in question to actually put it in a view that for my investigation purposes. And of course, I have complete control over how my analysis will look on the screen, bearing in mind that of course I have the security rights to do so. I'm logged in more of an administrator, a super user, so I can see this particular data. And from here, I really can now start to slice and dice. I can expand on my different product lines or my different projects, and I can see the breakdown of my different products. I can collapse that, and I can even expand on my different channels and see those drill down of those sales reps again. And those red flags are indicating those very same comments that we were just looking at previously. So once again, they're tagged and they travel along with us. I can even go ahead and pivot. I can come to my time and maybe move it into my rows rather than my channels. I even have the opportunity to view here. Maybe I want to look at a grid fashion. For me, maybe visual is a little bit better. The colors are okay, but maybe I'm going to change my little template to create new colors. And even as I expand on my grid, my chart will change as well. So several different options to see numbers as well as visuals as well. I can even come into my accounts and start in my investigation saying, well, I at least know where I'm short in terms of my revenue. Maybe it's due to units or maybe it's due to pricing. Let's investigate that further. So I just click on my accounts and I can see all my accounts that have been pulled in from my general ledger. I even have some statistical ones that were created directly in Prophix. Open up that. Let's see my average selling price. So the data changes and now I can clearly see here that I do have an issue. I actually have that my sporting line, almost a liquidation price that went out the door. This might be quite drastic, but for example purposes, you can clearly see here that we've exceeded or we actually not exceeded, we came far lower in price than what we expected to go out the door for this product. So this really has now created a lot of questions for me, such as, let's see the invoice numbers that this price went out the door at. How many products went out the door? What customers received this price? Perhaps this is the exact reason why Ian and Martin didn't hit their numbers if the certain price of the product is less than half of what we expected. So usually you might think, well, from here now we might have to exit out of the system, go into our general ledger and start the whole search all over again. Or maybe if we don't have access to the GL, put in a ticket to IT and have them run the report for us. We don't have to do any of that because that's going to take time from our investigation. I merely just need to right-click and go into what's called Drill Across. Drill Across is actually a view back into the transactional system where this data was originally pulled from, and it gives me a read-only window into my transactions, and it actually filters it for me. So these particular columns here will be your tables and your structure and your GL. This is merely an example. But it's actually filtered out just the particular price that I was looking at and for the particular month, and it's giving me all the customers, and in this case I just have their ID, but I could have their name as well, the units that went out the door, the revenue, the invoice, all that. And now I have the opportunity from start to finish to find out, yes, there was an anomaly for those two reps. They didn't hit their targets. Yes, it was because of pricing, and it was because that it went out the door to these specific customers at this almost liquidation price. So you can see that this is just one example, but the ability to automate, you have all this information sitting in Prophix from all your disparate systems, and now through the tools, you can actually do your investigation all within a secure environment and have really the power to get to your answers right away. A little bit about how we get the data in the system, because the historical actuals are, of course, not entered in manually into Prophix. We have import wizards. We have ways to make it easy for you to load in your data, and there's several ways. It's through direct connections, through external systems. We can also load in data from flat files, like an Excel file or a text file, several different options. It's a one-time handshake, and then we can load in data as often as necessary, hourly, nightly, or weekly, even ad hoc on the fly, which is sometimes a great benefit at the end of the month when so many changes are being made in the GL. So coming back to my storyboard, I'd like to now take a look at a little bit regarding budgeting and templates. One way that we can really automate our budget process is to really simplify the creation of the templates, the dissemination, and most importantly, the aggregation of the data. Sometimes it takes so long to receive all the disparate spreadsheets and cut and paste or do VLOOKUPs. One small error and really our data is wrong. So we want to have automation still with data integrity intact. So I'm going to utilize an operating expense template to walk through a budget sample. Now please remember that the look and feel of everything that I'm showing you is completely configurable to match your company's requirements when it comes to template design. Prophix can support calendar and non-calendar fiscal years. We can actually do daily level budgeting all the way up to multi-year and everything in between, support rolling as well as 13 periods, 4, 4, 5. In this example, I just simply have 1 year of historical data, and then I have a total budget year followed by its corresponding 12 months. And rather than creating a separate template for each department, which you would have to do in an environment like Excel, which obviously takes time because you're doing 10 times the effort, we actually have in the system this functionality where it's allowing you to create one template to do the entire job of all 10 spreadsheets. And notice in the drop-down that contains the departments, as I go ahead and choose the department, the data will change to reflect my choice. So now all the data will change to just show my finance information. Or I can go ahead and choose my marketing, and even the historical data changes as well. So then I'm going to harness workflow to disseminate out this template, but the security rights of Prophix will make sure that each person only gets their departmental template and no one else's. And I'll show you that when we log in as an end user as an example. We also have the opportunity for different scenarios. In an ideal world, we would have one budget. It would be going out, coming back in. We'd lock it down. We'd be good to go. But in reality, we have to do several different scenarios. Things change throughout the budget process. So you definitely want to have the opportunity to create alternate versions, budgets and forecasts. I've created 4 here, but you actually have an unlimited amount that you can create. You can create 10, 20, 30 different scenarios, as many as you want, and you can name them whenever you want. I just decided to call them these for my example. And when I toggle to it, I can start off with a scenario of my budget plus or minus a percentage. I can even start off as a clean slate. So zero-based budgeting, top-down, it's really up to you. And then when we come in here, I simply have the general ledger accounts. These are my natural accounts. I don't have the numeric number, the code next to it, but you could if you wished. And then I have summary folders that I've directly created in Prophix. So here's my natural accounts coming from my general ledger, but directly in Prophix I also created summary accounts to further organize them. And I'd just like to take a second here to show you a big key difference between what you're used to in a spreadsheet versus Prophix. Historically in spreadsheets, in order to roll up data, just simply these accounts up to a summary, it always involved formulas. And then when you have to take all your department spreadsheets and roll it up to a consolidated one, it definitely involves VLOOKUPs and formulas. A lot of formulas create a lot of manual effort because if there is an error, it's going to take time to find it. Rather than using formulas, like a spreadsheet, Prophix instead uses tree-like structures. So when I entered in 300 and it knew to roll up to 300 for general and administrative, and then also, if I scroll down, it knew to roll up to operating expenses, that has nothing to do with formulas. It's completely taken outside of the template and it uses tree structure. So allow me to toggle to my account manager, which is where all your general ledger accounts would be stored. We would pull them in, just like how I talked about that import wizard for your data. We would pull in your general ledger structure, and we would create folders. So a balance sheet folder holding all your balance sheet accounts, an income statement folder holding all your income statement accounts. We can even create calculated accounts to calculate and create cash flow statements as well. Coming back to that 300 example, if I expand on my tree, I can actually see my income statement and how it's built. So once I establish this tree structure, I never need to put another formula to aggregate data in my spreadsheet. So for example, I have net income. It's made up of taxes and earnings before tax. I expanded on earnings before tax, and it's made up of these accounts. Expand on EBITDA, and it's gross margin and operating expenses. But it's not merely aggregating it. If I click on EBITDA, and you follow my mouse down here, you can actually see that it's also doing an aggregation method, a calculation. It's taking my gross margin and subtracting out my operating expenses. And you can see through my summary folders, I can add, subtract, or just not add. It's almost like a no. Expand on my operating expenses, and I come to that general and administrative. And finally, I come down to my 4-digit account code. And by all means, you can have a 6-digit, 7-digit, 10. We can actually have several characters. I think I have about up to 40 characters. So don't think that there's any limitation to your naming conventions or the code numbers in terms of the size. So here's my office expense. That's how, when I entered in $300 at this lowest level, Prophix knew how to aggregate my data immediately. That $300 was an office expense. It automatically rolled up to the parent folder of general and administrative and subsequently to operating expenses, and then ultimately it was part of the calculation for net income. So there's far as any formulas to maintain in our templates to do any type of aggregation. That is all gone, which means we have no broken links, no end user issues, no need to maintain various templates. You can just see through that automation of this tree structure, we've really eliminated the hundreds upon hundreds of formulas just simply to aggregate our data. This is definitely a simpler way, and of course with further data integrity. And the same applies when you're looking at your organization structure. Remember, in the template, I entered in data for $300. I just scroll back up to office expense for finance. But finance reports up or aggregates up to corporate, just like all these other cost centers do. So if I click on corporate, I'm actually going to see that 300 roll up along with an additional 300 from another department. Once again, how does it do that? It's not through formulas, it's through a tree structure. I have established my tree structure here. I have corporate. Underneath that are my cost centers. I have my lines of business. Underneath that are my operational divisions. So once again, data entered in finance, new to roll up to corporate. And this is just one structure. Several times you need to create alternate structures for alternate reporting purposes, and you can do that through the alternate hierarchies. You can create different ways of looking at your data just through creating these alternate hierarchies. And I actually created one for tax purposes. I had to reorganize my departments in the different states that they're situated in for tax reporting. So you definitely have your main structure, but you also have the capabilities of creating alternate hierarchies for alternate reporting purposes. All right, I'm just now going to move on to the end user perspective for just the next few minutes. So remember, this is the administrator perspective. What I'm now going to do is log in as Connie to have her look at her perspective of the exact same template. So I just basically am going to toggle into Connie here. So I actually already have her logged in. And right here, she actually has several assigned workflow tasks on her home page. So right on the front page, she immediately sees what am I responsible for and when does it need to get done. So I have my finance OpEx budget, and it has to be due 4 days from now. And I also have a couple other areas. What I can now see as well is, are there any announcements that I need to review first? Here's my favorite reports that I look at on a frequent basis. And if I just go ahead and click on my assigned workflow task, immediately it opens it up. And it allows me now to see the exact same template from the administrator perspective with a very large difference. Workflow did the work of parsing it out so that there's no drop down anymore. I could have access to a couple departments, and in that case I would have a drop down showing me just the 1 or 2. But for now, I just have access to the finance template. So really in here, I can now start to enter in my data. I still have my different areas, my different scenarios. And once again, a lot of similarities to the look and feel of Excel, but with a lot more capabilities. So not just entering in data by month, I can actually come into an annual number, put in an annual level. Immediately, I have tools like this pop-up ready to use. It's allowing me to see the different types of spreading options because I entered in $35,000. How do I wish to spread back to the 12 months of my budget? I could spread evenly. I could spread based on existing data if I already took the time to populate these months. I could spread based on a driver. This might be some driver-based budgeting that we want to do. I could spread based on a different time period. Perhaps at $35,000, I want to spread it exactly based on the seasonality of 2010. So I go ahead, click on my time period, click OK. I've chosen 2010, and 2010 of what version of 2010? My 2010 actuals, my seasonality of my 2010 budget. Well, let's click on my versions. I have them all sitting here. Mind you, I don't actually have to see what the actual numbers are. They're stored in Prophix. So I now choose actuals of 2010. I say OK, and immediately within a half a second, I've now populated my entire office expense based on the exact seasonality of a few years ago. And then I can go ahead and tweak it even a little bit further. I can highlight a few. I can right-click, and I have several tools here. I'm not going to arduously go through each one here. I'd keep you for probably another 4 hours. But let's say adjust data. I'm going to tweak it by a few different percentages. Maybe I'll adjust by a percentage or by a dollar value. If I discount it or bring it down by 10% for each month, immediately it does that for just those few particular months. And then from there, I can easily now start forming my data. Now maybe it's time to do some formatting or some justification, some supporting details. You can see those red flags. It means there's comments already in there. If I click on Cell Comments, it's going to open it up, and it's going to show all the historical comments as well as any new ones that I'm going to add. And I put in 2010 actuals with a 10% reduction, and I even have the view of a particular attachment for further justification. Once again, those comments travel with the data. I even have the opportunity for line item details. If I just toggle up to a different version, I actually have it already populated here. Blue flags represent line item details. So now from here, instead of coming in and entering on a monthly basis or just at this level, I can right-click and actually drill down on line item detail. So this is actually going below the subledger. So for example, I'm going to come in here, and rather than saying $27,000 for February and that's it, let's actually get down to the line item by line item. Why do you need $27,000, Connie, in finance? Well, $17,500 is going to be used in February for a new copier, as well as some toner, pens and pencils, and supplies. And this is actually on an account-by-account basis. So this is for office expense, but you can do this for any account in your entire general ledger. For any of your expense accounts, it really comes in handy. You can do it for your asset accounts, for doing capital expenditure planning, and you have all your assets organized by furniture and fixtures, computer hardware and software. So the benefit here is that you're actually not just even putting in a comment, but breaking it down by individual line item. And if I go ahead and make a change, like change toner to, let's say, $10,000, it ups it to $32,000. I hit save and close, and that $32,000 will reflect back in my main template, once again, without any links or formulas or separate spreadsheets to do so. And finally, what about things that are more detailed, especially like payroll costs? What if it's come time that we have to do some payroll budgeting, but really at this departmental monthly level, it's really not detailed enough? We really have the opportunity to address more detailed related planning, and we have that through what we call our Detailed Planning Manager, which is an area in Prophix that allows us to create schedules, personnel schedules, so we can come back to our home page. Connie, maybe I went through that a little bit too fast. She came back to her own home page. This is her OPEX budget. But what feeds into her OPEX budget is her personnel budget. And when she clicks on our personnel budget, it opens up a spreadsheet. But it's more of a data entry spreadsheet that allows her really to come in here and take this schedule and add additional people, remove people, adjust maybe the July increase, the job position. I can just come in and click on add. This allows me, first of all, to only see my particular department, so maybe this is more of a controller or a CFO, and I can now start making adjustments. And the benefit, once again, is it's completely linked back to my OPEX template. If I go ahead and make changes to the medical plan or to different areas, and mind you, once again, it's a complete sample. We're going to actually load in complete attributes related to your staff based on your payroll system. So if we're going to link into ADP, we're going to pull in all that data so you can actually do budgeting exactly of all the key areas within your personnel. So I make the changes, I go back to my OPEX template, and I can really see all the changes reflected here. Because once I make a salary change, it's also going to change my taxes. It also may change my bonuses, and I want to see all that before I go ahead and submit it to my approver. And speaking of submission, I go ahead to Workflow, I hit the Submit button, and that's the extent of how I'm going to share my report, my template, with my approver. It's all through here, and it's going to go ahead, send an email notification, even with a direct link, to say, now it's your turn, manager, to come in and approve Connie's information. All right, coming back into here, what I'd now like to do with just the next, I have about 10 minutes or so. So the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about some reporting capabilities, report distribution, and then, as I said, I'm just going to finish off a little bit more about our customers. So consolidated budget review. Well, once again, all the data consolidates immediately, and upon submission, people can actually see the data rolled up, see it aggregate on the fly. So you don't have to wait for everyone to submit their information and then start the arduous task of aggregating it. It's all happening automatically here. And this is just one example of a report that I've created by using what's called Template Designer, a very easy to use, everything is developed in-house in Prophix by our developers. And this spent years on developing Template Designer to make it very easy to create and utilize reports and templates. The layout I've decided here is to do an income statement, and I wanted to take a consolidated view of my prior year actuals compared to my plan and then see the variances. I wanted to do that on a month basis and on a year-to-date basis as well. All the information that I'm looking at here came from those schedules and those templates that were submitted ultimately by those managers. So the payroll costs came from the payroll schedules. The general administrative and travel costs all came from my operating expense. And I still have the opportunity for certain conditional formatting so that as a whole, when I'm comparing my actuals to my budget, if there is any outlier, it's going to let me know about it. And if I do need to find out more information, remember, I'm not just limited to this one report. I can right-click and I can go into Analyze. Analyze is another way to get back to that ad hoc analysis view that we were at the beginning, where I can start slicing and dicing, pivoting my information to get down to the details, like taking my entertainment account and looking at it now from a departmental level, so I can clearly see here, where did that 24% increase compared to last year happen? Oh, there it is. It's the marketing department. Are they the only ones that have comments? Well, I don't need to go and filter through every single permutation and combination on this report. I just merely hit View and hit my View My Comments, and it's going to bring up all relevant comments in this entire view. So now I don't need to go searching for every single one. I can see, well, there's some in April and February from the marketing, from finance, and I can see it all in one view. And the same goes for my line item. We have several summary reports ready to use immediately to help you find those comments. And once again, make just the whole task of the budget process, of the day in and day out activities, easier, automated. So another report that I can show you actually is more of maybe an operational report. So I have focused today more on operating expenses, but by no means is that all what Prophix is proficient in. We definitely can do operational related reports. So as I showed you before, products related to pricing. We can do project-based. If you're not for profit, it's more of funds and grants maybe that you're managing. If it's a service company or higher learning, maybe it's related to tuition, or maybe it's related to the services per employee. Really, the operational side can absolutely be reflected in Prophix just as easily as the expense side. And in here, we actually have our sales rep, and we've created a report here that dynamically changes depending on which sales rep I'm looking at. And even the charts and graphs change as well. Also, another view here just to show you we're proficient in balance sheet, in cash flow, P&L, your operational reports. This is one that's actually going one step further to just introduce you just briefly to the consolidation capabilities. If you are a parent company who needs to take disparate subsidiaries, roll them up into a consolidated chart of accounts and create consolidated reports, not a problem. Here's an example of a finished consolidation report in where we're illustrating some of those areas that are very important, such as representing all our subsidiaries, having our parent company, representing the eliminations that are happening between the companies, which can also be managed in Prophix. Even journal entries for those eliminations can happen. We're looking at local currency of our different subsidiaries. But if I come down here and toggle to my U.S. reporting currency, the last two companies are now converted, and I'm now, of course, looking at apples to apples in terms of my reporting currency of my U.S. dollar. Just like how we load in and maintain your general ledger structure and your data, we also can do the same for exchange rates and currencies. We load in, we can create as many currency conversions as necessary with as many exchange rates as necessary. Just like how we pull in data, we can also pull in exchange rates as well to maintain. So very high-level view, a lot more I can go to regarding the consolidation, but really, true consolidation can happen with currency conversion, currency translation adjustments, and once again, it all leads back to even utilizing workflow, if you wish, to help make that happen, loading in from the disparate sources and also being able to do currency conversion. And how do we disseminate that out? That's our last step. How do we share these reports with people? Well, we can print them, we can take this one report and email it out, or even publish it to SharePoint if you leverage SharePoint. But if you want to take several reports and put them all together, then we can use what's called Report Binder. It takes a series of Prophix reports, Excel reports, Word documents, PDFs. You put them in the exact order that you want them to be in. The distribution list, you put those people, and Prophix does the bulk of the work, because before this whole report gets consolidated into a PDF and sent out to these people, Prophix is going to look at each person's security rights and parse it out based on their security rights. So if Alfred only needs to see 2 of these reports or certain detail in each report, that's all he's going to see. So to them, it's going to look very specific to just their area, while Prophix did all that work. And you can see even just the month-end close of disseminating out reports, if right now it's taking you days to just do those parsings out, that's completely gone, because now it's just a matter of minutes to have Prophix do the consolidation and the report distribution. So we took a look at reviewing data. We took a look at budgets and how that aggregation is through tree structures rather than through formulas, automating that. The end user perspective of how it's really still a very similar look and feel to Excel, but with a lot of other capabilities to help enter in the numbers and get the data aggregated faster. The types of templates and reports that we can create, and just a mere sample of them, along with even report book creation and report distribution. So what I'd now like to do is actually toggle back to the slides, and so I'll just pass it back to John just briefly to bring up those particular slides. And I'm just going to finish off with just a little bit about the customers, because I think it's pretty important to let you know that our customers or our Prophix software is industry agnostic, meaning that we have customers over 2,000, and they're all in different specifications. They are in higher learning, healthcare, banks, and credit unions, in healthcare, oil and gas, not-for-profit, services, manufacturing. This is just a small sample of some of the customers that have utilized and benefited from choosing Prophix. So I just really wanted to highlight that regardless of what industry you are in, we definitely have the availability and are flexible and capable of modeling your various needs. So really on my end, this concludes my presentation portion. But of course, as John said, the next step is really in that survey. If you have any additional questions or you want to be contacted by Prophix, just basically check mark that box, and we'll definitely be able to take it to the next steps and see if Prophix is a solution that might be for you. So thank you very much, and I pass it back to John.
Great. Thank you so much, Nadia. That was a wonderful walkthrough. I know it's a lot to cover, but well done, and thanks for that. We're going to go ahead and hop into the Q&A portion of our program right now. So if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them via the questions area of your GoToWebinar control panel. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. So first question, Nadia, in order to support rolling forecasts, can a monthly breakout of past actuals and future periods be visible on the same data entry screen?
Yes, absolutely you can. So that's one area that I didn't necessarily show you, but absolutely, just like how we pull in actuals for your reports, we can also utilize those actuals for forecasts as well, and then you can do a running forecast on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. So yes, you definitely have the opportunity to do year-to-date actuals combined with budget numbers for your forecasts.
How does the platform pull in actuals from accounting systems? Are there pre-built connectors? Are there customized connectors? How does that work?
So it's a combination really of pre-built and customized in that we have what's called our Prophix import wizard, which is just a simple 5-step way to make the connection to your external system. Really what we do is the first thing is we identify the server of where your general ledger is sitting, and then the most popular way is really through an ODBC connection or an open database connection, in which case we make that connection through an ODBC. We also have the opportunity, though, to just easily establish a SQL script to write in and connect to your external system. So it's really those steps that allow us through the import wizard to load in not just from your general ledger, but mind you, from several disparate systems. So your general ledger, your ERP, your payroll system, your fixed asset system, and operational system. We can make connections to several systems so that really all the data can reside in Prophix for that true analysis.
Okay, great. When folks are initially setting up the system and putting in all the hierarchies and sort of creating the budgeting templates, is that all driven by the finance users, or is that typically done by consultants, at the launch of sort of the project? How does that work?
So during our implementation, we very much have a partnership between usually the person who's going to be at the company who will be deemed the Prophix administrator. So we like to have a train-the-trainer approach. So in answer to your question, it happens right at the start. So we establish our project plan, and then during the implementation, that is when we establish the connections, establish the chart of accounts in the system, load in that into Prophix. But it's very much side by side with those key Prophix administrators. And those are usually actually people from the finance department because they are the ones who usually understand the structure and will be in there day in and day out in maintaining it. But that all happens right at the start, and it's completely part of our partnership throughout the implementation plan.
Okay. Now, what if you create a new account within your GL? Do you have to recreate it within Prophix, or is it automatically carried through sort of with the actuals?
It's carried through. So just like how we can have an import of our data, we also have an automation where if a new account has been added in your GL, it will also automatically be reflected in Prophix, so you don't need to require that double entry or that double effort. It happens automatically.
Okay. How long does it typically take to implement?
So implementation varies. So you saw there's several capabilities that can happen in Prophix. Whether you just want to start with budgeting or just want to start with reporting or want to do all-encompassing of what you've seen here today, on average it's anywhere from about 4 to 12 weeks, I would say, and usually it harbors around maybe 6 weeks. So still, considering, it's still quite a fast implementation considering all that will be available just after those weeks. So I would say on average about 6 weeks, but anywhere from 4 to 12, depending on how you want to phase it out, or if you just want to start with one particular aspect, one immediate need, or if you want to do a lot more.
Okay. If a company has multiple divisions and a non-standardized chart of accounts, which is very possible, does Prophix help with overall consolidation or global consolidation?
Yes, definitely. So during the importing of the structure, we also have a capability, which a lot of our consolidation clients have done. We have mapping tables. So when you're pulling in from all those disparate sources, we have the capability of first, if you do have your consolidated chart of accounts created, we can then take that chart of accounts, put that into Prophix, and then when it comes to all your disparate systems, we will use our mapping table capabilities to take those charts of accounts and map them into a consolidated one. And that's completely a very much familiar area for Prophix for a lot of our clients who do have those capabilities or that needs, where you have different companies who frankly they all have different codes for office expense and different codes for their other expenses or areas. So we definitely have mapping tables and are definitely familiar with how we can transition that into Prophix to create a consolidated chart of account.
And are those mapping tables, after, let's say, an initial setup, managed by the folks at the company? So let's say they make changes or add new divisions, what have you, that they're able to manage and maintain those updates on their own without outside help if they prefer to do it that way?
Yep. Completely. Just like everything in Prophix, with that train the trainer approach, we give you the capability to be able to adjust those mapping tables easily, adjust your templates, load in data, make the changes without having the task of having to always bring in a Prophix consultant. We really want to leave you to be fully self-sufficient. Of course, we have our customer support team on standby, but really, along with mapping tables and just all other aspects, we really try to fully inform the administrators of Prophix at the company so that you don't need for every little change to make a call to us. And mapping tables is just one of those examples.
Okay. Can the person managing the forecast versions lock those down? So sort of inviolate so that no one would be able to make any changes after that lockdown has occurred?
Yes. So those scenarios they're managed in what's called a version manager, and it's just as easily as changing that particular scenario from active to complete, and it's just a little drop down. And once you change it to complete, in essence, changes to just a read-only view, so it can no longer be adjusted.
Okay. How do folks learn more about Prophix?
Oh, okay. So several different ways. There is definitely other ways. So through our website, of course, there's several pieces of information. Once you make contact with us, we also have several other pre-recorded demos that are more focused on areas like consolidation or reporting or budgeting. And of course, we even have the capability to conduct a one-on-one product demonstration where really one of our senior sales engineers can actually find out a little bit more information about what you're looking for and tailor a demo that really focuses on the key areas of your immediate needs. So several options. A website where it's more of like self-sufficient, you can pull data, or once again, we have recorded and we have demos and other data sheets that we can always share with you as well.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Okay, that's it for our questions. We're a couple minutes ahead of schedule here, which I'm sure is fine for everyone in the audience. So why don't we go ahead and go through our last few housekeeping slides, and then we'll get to our post-event survey, which I'll definitely ask folks to hang around for. It's 60 seconds, and if you'd like to be connected with Nadia, our speaker today, or folks at Prophix in general, that's just a mouse click away. So just very quickly, you will be prompted to take a short survey. Just covered that. If you have any further questions, certainly contact the folks at Prophix. Plus, if you want to hear from any of your peers, you can ask questions on Performative in our community area, and there are a lot of product discussions going on there. So that's another great resource for you. Quick shout out to Performatech, which is a conference we have coming up on March 20th in San Francisco, which is a finance tech conference. Finally, a great thanks to Prophix for having us put together this event today, and for Nadia, your time and attention, greatly appreciated. An awful lot to cover today. You did wonderfully, and it was great to learn about your platform. So thanks so much
very much
for that.
I was very appreciative of the opportunity.
You bet. Our pleasure. At this point, we'll go ahead and close down the webinar, and you will immediately be presented with our post-event survey. So stick around for another 60 seconds. Thanks to all the busy folks who showed up today. We hope to see you again at performative.com.